That's fine. Well, I'm glad you all made it here today for our very first session, and I am so excited to introduce you all to Dr. Heather Denniston. So, this session is bridging the connection between personal well being and professional success. Dr. Heather is a seasoned chiropractor for a specialized certification in wellness chiropractic. She is also a certified personal trainer, a speaker, and an author. Dr. Denniston brings decades of experience to the stage. She has presented at conferences at global companies like Microsoft. She's also been published in Medium, Paleo Magazine, Thrive Global, and authored The 3-Day Reset. Dr. Heather's signature program, the Wellness Amplifier Performance Program, helps catalyze optimal wellness and catapult employees' productivity, effectiveness, and success. You all are in for a treat, so please give a round of applause to Dr. Heather Denniston.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When I was 9, I grew like a Mastiff puppy. 6 inches in 1 year, which was kind of tricky because Mastiff puppies don't do back handsprings on the beam, and I was a competitive gymnast. So I quit and focused on my other sport, Olympic caliber binge eating. By the time I hit college, I was 70 pounds overweight with a host of health issues, including Raynaud's, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, irritable gut syndrome, Sjogren's, migraines, ankylosing spondylitis. And one morning I found myself crying in my crappy college apartment shower and realizing I had no idea how to be functionally fit, possess self-compassion, fuel my body. And I realized if I was going to turn this Titanic of health issues around, I was going to need to focus on my well-being as a priority project. So I did. I studied, and I became a chiropractor, a personal trainer, certified chiropractic wellness practitioner, and I had a practice just in Issaquah for 25 years. And somewhere along the way, I had so many of you on my table in a state of complete overwhelm, burnout, and fatigue. I thought, could I get to you sooner? And so I sold my practice to these 2 lovely sisters from Wisconsin who are still caring for my patients today. And I started my company called Well Fit and Fed. And what I do is go into companies and retreats, conferences, events, etc., and I talk about well-being. But if I'm going to do that, I need to stay up on the data so I can have some modicum of credibility. And I bridge the connection between personal well-being and professional success, so I stick with a lot of the data around well-being, longevity, all of those kinds of things. And what we know is that 77% of US employees report experiencing burnout in the last year. Record low well-being. As of November 24th, only 50% of US employees reported thriving in their overall lives. Now, this study comes from Gallup, and this is like very detailed definition of thriving, but let me tell you, the bar is low. $322 billion globally on burnout. Now, I know, because I've spoken to lots of you, you have humongous hearts. This industry will chew you up and spit you out. It is exhausting. And so you don't just do it because you love it, although you do it because you have massive hearts and you care about people having a really great time and being successful. And so it's very easy to overextend ourselves. So I'm going to encourage you today to listen out of both ears. The first ear, for those of you that have teams, I encourage you to listen for at least one nugget to take back to your team. But more importantly, I want you to listen for you. Because if you are not at your most best, then you cannot passively leave the impact and legacy you hope to. Now, so we're going to listen not like the high-powered, award-winning, event-crushing human, just the bag of cells that we all are. We all have the same organs and muscles and tissues and brain and all of those things, and we need to take care of them in the same way. So at the end of today, I'm going to ask you to take one action step. You see, you could be doing a lot of things with your time right now. You could be across the hall, you could be doing the events, you could be having a coffee, and I appreciate and am honored that you're here. I don't want to take that lightly. And so I want you to leave with something very, very practical, sustainable, implementable. So we're going to each choose one thing from today's talk. We're going to start with something called a 2-word check-in. Very simple strategy. I just want you to share with me 2 emotions that you're feeling. Now here's the thing. If when I say, share with me your 2-word check-in, I don't see some hands go up, I am going to look for the most public speaking averse introvert in the room, and I will pick on her or him. And the reason I do this, I want growth for everybody. So if you want to save that person, when I say, what's your 2-word check-in, just put your hand up. Okay, I'm going to tell you mine. I'm excited and I'm thrilled because I get to be up here. Some days I'm grumpy, irritated, despondent, neutral, flat, whatever it is, could be anything. So show of hands, I just want to get a read on a couple of folks. Yes, that was a hand up. It was this, but I'm going to interpret it as a hand up. Thank you.
Tired and inspired.
Excellent. I love the contrast. We can live in one body with multiple emotions. Fantastic. Somebody else. Yes, thank you.
Anxious and bored, not working.
No.
We just met.
Great. I love it. Worried and grateful. Fantastic. One more. Was there? That was just a, yeah.
Excited and
Awesome. Love it. Thank you. This is Maggie. Maggie just got a promotion and she's so excited. So she goes home and she tells her husband and her daughter, I got this great promotion, but it's probably going to be about a 6-week ramp up. And they say, well, yeah, of course. But 6 weeks turns into 6 months and suddenly Maggie's not feeling so well. And she goes to her doctor and her doctor says, Maggie, we talked about this last summer. You were borderline hypertensive and adrenal fatigue then, and we're worse now. And you did none of the nutrition, fitness, mindfulness, stress reduction strategies that we talked about. So now we're faced with giving you 2 prescriptions. You can still go back and do the nutrition, fitness, all of those things. What do you want to do? She says, yes, yeah, no, totally, doc. Yeah, I'm going to take those prescriptions. And when things calm down, I'm going to start in on all that stuff that I know is so good. That's what I'm going to do. Well, what she didn't realize is that medications often have side effects. And so one of the medications caused insomnia for her. And because she had insomnia, she was less productive at work. She had to sit at her desk longer. And suddenly she has a little back pain. So in a matter of months, she has 2 medications and 4 new diagnoses. But that's not the problem. That's the problem. That's Jerry. Maggie and Jerry walk every night. And one night Maggie says, Jerry, you go ahead. I don't want to hold you back. My back's hurting. I'm tired. So he goes, and he goes again the next night, and the next night, and the next night, and suddenly Maggie and Jerry find themselves completely disconnected because their walking time was their talking time. They talked about their day, their dreams, their daughter. This is Lucy. Lucy plays volleyball every Tuesday and Thursday night, and the Thursday, before Maggie came into my office, she gets a call from Lucy, and she says, Mom, I get to start tonight. Coach is putting me in. Can you be there? Well, of course, Maggie said, no. I can't sit in the bleachers anymore. My back hurts so bad. I'm so tired, honey. And she hangs up the phone and she finds her head in her hands wondering, how did I get here? I know Maggie. Do you know Maggie? I know lots of Maggies. Maggies were coming in and out of my office all day long. Well, they might have had a different name, different job, different injury, but one thing was for certain is that every single person that put their hand on the handle to the door of my office had something in common. The thing they had in common was somewhere something had broken in their well-being that caused a negative shift in their quality of life or a separation away from what they care about. Somewhere, didn't matter what it was as far as what I was working on with them, they were in my office because somewhere something had broken in their well-being that caused a negative shift in their quality of life or a separation away from what they care about. Well, when I internalized that as a practitioner, I got excited. I mean, we started setting goals and exercise strategy and nutrition plans and all sorts of things. And a couple of weeks later, I'd say, Jim, how is that going for you? And Jim would say, oh, yeah, I had a work trip. And I'd think, is Jim not trying? Is Jim not working hard enough? No. It wasn't that at all. What was going on is that somewhere back here in that crappy college apartment shower, I had started a process of gaining resources and expertise from people way smarter than me to lay a foundation of building blocks upon which to build sustainable well-being strategy. And those 4 building blocks are the illness to wellness spectrum, homeostasis, teeter-totter, self-compassion, and habit hacking. In many, many years of practice, I found when people understand and internalize these 4 building blocks, they have a completely different experience with their own well-being. So in the 48 minutes I have left with you, we're gonna nail this. Okay? We're going to start with the illness to wellness spectrum. I'm going to show you a very complex diagram because it's really important that speakers show diagrams. It's a circle and a line and another circle. On the left, that's illness. On the right, it's wellness. Inside illness, well, that's easy. That is upset stomach, bad salsa. Congestion, I've got a cold. But what happens when we're right outside that circle? No signs or symptoms, but does Dan the dot look very healthy to you? No, there is a long line between Dan and optimal well-being. So micropoint of 3 micropoints in regard to illness to wellness spectrum is this: absence of signs or symptoms does not mean that you are well. Okay? Number 2, lots of us like to stand here, right in the middle. You know, I'm not ill. Could I be maybe putting a little more effort into my well-being? Yeah, probably, but I'm okay. Here's the problem. This is not a vacuum. This is a headwind. Why is it a headwind? Because we are part of a glorious life cycle. And as part of that glorious life cycle, we are born, we mature, and then we are on a very long, slippery slide of degenerative change until we hit a very long dirt nap. Everybody in this room is in a state of degeneration. I love that she said that because the news gets better. So micropoint number 3 is the good news. Micropoint number 3 is this: that line is not a line, it's a tightrope. And when we walk a tightrope, you don't run across willy-nilly to the other side. No, you go heel-toe, heel-toe, 1 extra glass of water, 5 deep breaths, 10 minutes to bed earlier. Tiny, consistent shift over tiny shift to move you in the direction of optimal well-being. So, absence of signs or symptoms does not mean you're well. We're in a headwind, and yes, the truth hurts. But the good news is this, is that tiny, consistent shifts, you know, that they would love you to think that it's not that. They would love you to think it's a 21-day this or a 30-day that, it's a product or a pill. It's not. You have incredible power. Tiny, consistent shift over tiny, consistent shift. The second building block is the homeostasis teeter-totter. I'm a fan of playground equipment. Where are my slide, people? Hands up. Thank you. Where are my swings? Okay, swings always wins. Where's my teeter-totter, people? You, what's your name? Yeah, Rachel. Rachel and I are teeter-totter fans. And on the break, we're gonna go out and we're gonna be like, we need some nature and a little break and some fresh air, and we get on the teeter-totter and you all think that's weird, so you join us. And she and I go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And what does everybody on a teeter-totter eventually do? Oh, it's one in every crowd. Who said that? Try to knock me off. No, Rachel wouldn't do that. She's kind. We try to balance. And you all are standing there and you're like, wow, Rachel and Heather, that's a magical feat. We're not balancing, we're integrating. I'm looking at her across on the teeter-totter and my pupils are dilating and constricting. All of my synapses are firing, my muscles are contracting and relaxing, all in response to what she's doing. Here's what homeostasis is, not what your biology taught you. Homeostasis is the balancing of all systems in the human body. That's not what it is. It's integration. It's your ability to take in your environment, process it, and respond to it. You are doing it right now. The hairs on your arms are going up and down based on the temperature. Pupils are constricting and dilating based on the light. Your ears are filtering out ambient noise. It's incredible. Now, because I'm not sensing that you think it is as incredible as I do, I'm going to share something very, very concrete to prove this to you. Do I have any smart device wearers in the audience? Yeah, a few of you. Any Oura rings? Okay. Those of us that wear Oura rings know that it is fantastic for sleep, to analyze all of your metrics. And so I'm going to show you 2 random graphs. I've worn an Oura ring for well over 10 years, and I just pulled 2 random nights, okay? Night A, night B. Night A, night B. Night A, night B. Which one, with no other information, you can't answer, is the better night's sleep? Okay, I get mostly A's, and that's what everyone says because we like a really pretty graph. In fact, it's this, and here's why. Heart rate variability, most people had never even heard of 5 years ago, but it has become extraordinarily popularized because it is one of the singular best longevity metrics you can gather. If we look at night A, in the top left-hand corner, I got to bed at 11:06. Well, I turned into a pumpkin at 8:30. And so some friends dragged me out, I had a steak, a martini, I came home and I collapsed into bed. Night B, I got to bed at 9:19. Closer, I had 2 hours of no screens. I read a book, the room was cool and dark. I had water, no alcohol, and no food for 90 minutes before I went to bed. This is the better night. And you might think, why? Well, heart rate variability is not heart rate. Heart rate variability is your ability to really well bounce back and forth between fight or flight and rest and relax. That should have great amplitude. Those two should talk to each other really well. There should be good resilience there. This is just me in recovery all night. And when I made that connection, and I thought, I did that. I did that with my choices. Our life experience depends on the hundreds of daily health amplifying or depleting decisions we make. When we internalize this building block of we have so much incredible power, but we also have a lot of personal responsibility, it can be life-changing to realize what control we have over our experience of the world. But it's incredibly empowering as well. Because again, we're told over and over and over again, no, you can't. If you buy this, you can. If you take this product or this program, you can. You can. We are engaging constantly. It never stops. That's homeostasis. Our ability to engage is directly related to our choices, and that is empowering and a huge responsibility. That's building block number 2. Building block number 3 is self-compassion. Now, I shared with you that I sold my practice. Well, just before I sold my practice, I went out for coffee with a girlfriend, and I told her about how I wanted to start writing a blog, and I wanted to publish a book, and I wanted to start speaking. I wanted to do all these things, and I was so excited. And her arms just kind of got increasingly folded like this, and her face did something like this. And she said 3 things to me. The first she said was, wow, can't believe you're just going to walk away from a practice you've built for 20 years. Number 2, I didn't actually know you knew how to write. So, Number 3, woo, that wellness industry, that's a competitive one. She's a hater. And I'm pretty sure none of you would sit across coffee with this woman, but I wasn't sitting across from her, she was in my head. Because our brain never stops talking. And somewhere along the way, for many of us, if not most of us, it can get bullish, critical, and frankly mean. And what we realized about a decade and a half ago is self-compassion is not a birthright. It is a buildable skill. And what I have found in my experience with coaching one-to-one folks, with patients and clients, is that if we don't address self-compassion first, any of their wellness goals have a high risk of failure. So we've realized something. We thought for a long time that somehow beating the crap out of ourselves when we fail at something to do with well-being was going to motivate us to get recommitted. I can't believe you ate that whole sleeve of Oreo cookies. What were you thinking? You're such an idiot. Why did you do that? But we've realized through data that compassion is more compelling. That in fact, when we're kind to ourselves, it's a way better situation for us long-term with our wellness goals. So if we're going to talk compassion, we need to talk to Kristen Neff. She is the godmother of compassion. She's been studying it for 3 decades, and she's distilled it down into 3 pillars. Self-kindness, common suffering, and mindfulness. Now, when we talk about self-kindness, it seems straightforward. Self-kindness is just understanding and warmth pointed towards yourself. It's not easy for a lot of people. This is my sister Cynthia. I was on the phone with my friend Chelsea, and Chelsea is a gregarious, extremely confident, wild woman, and she wanted to play this game called Braggart. And I'm like, what's Braggart? She said, well, you tell me 5 things that are awesome about you, then I'll tell you 5 things, and we'll get to know each other even better. I'm like, okay. And so we played the game. I got off the phone with her. I hopped on the phone with my sister Cynthia, and I'm like, hey, Chelsea and I just played this great game. It's called Braggart. You tell me 5 things you love about yourself or that you're great at. Nothing. And then tears. I said, what's going on? She said, I can't think of one thing. So, self-kindness can be really hard for some. So we want to be gentle with ourselves as we start to learn about a self-compassion practice. So self-kindness might not be as easy as saying, I'm great at this, or this is so awesome about me. We may need to work a little differently. So instead of just typical words, maybe we talk to ourselves as if we are a small child or a beloved pet. Maybe we journal. When we externalize, it gives us perspective. Perhaps affirmations. Do you guys know that the Navy SEALs have training in affirmations? I'm pretty sure that if the Navy SEALs are doing affirmations, we can probably benefit from them as well. But what if words don't come? Because sometimes they won't. Self-compassion can look like rest. I think that's super appropriate for this group because I know how hard you all work. Boundaries is an act of self-compassion. Joy and play. I have so many clients I start with that do not give themselves permission to play. They think it's either a waste of time or they just don't have time to fit it in. Play is a wellness strategy. So these are ways of being self-compassionate toward ourselves. Now the second thing, common suffering. The definition of being human is understanding that everybody is mortal, vulnerable, and imperfect. Here's what that looks like in practice. You have to present to maybe a new client or your team, and you get up there and you start presenting, and you realize in slide 2, this is draft 1 of 6 draft presentation. And you're already into the slides that you've deleted and the data that you corrected, and you slog through it, and at the end of it, you leave the room with your head down, and you can do one of 2 things. You can walk down the hallway and say, oh my gosh, why do you put yourself in that position? You're a terrible public speaker. I can't believe you did that, and why didn't you? Or you could do number 2. Woo! Yeah, okay, it wasn't our best showing. However, probably everybody in that room has had a situation just like this. Common suffering is understanding that you're not alone. 2-word check-in that we just started with is an incredible way to demonstrate common suffering to your family, to your team. And what do I mean by that? When we do a 2-word check-in with each other as a group, 3 things happen. Number 1 is they see that you're human. So if you're a leader of people, very often you can have sort of this like perfection facade that makes you a little bit pedestaled. Number 2, they connect that their peers are not perfect. Often there's one on every team that never a hair out of place, perfect clothing. And if she shows up and says, yeah, my 2 words are exhausted and frustrated. Oh, okay, she's not perfect. And number 3 is it grants permission for them to share how they authentically feel and feel like it's a safe space. So the 2-word check-in comes from Brené Brown, and it's a powerful little mini exercise you can do with your teams. The 3rd pillar, which is mindfulness. We cannot ignore our pain and feel compassion for it at the same time. During COVID, I had a one-to-one client. She called me. We were in a coaching relationship. I said, how are you? She said, oh, I need to tell you something, Heather. I said, what is it? She said, well, I've canceled my wedding. Geez, let's take a beat. No, let's just keep going. And I know what she was doing. which is what many people who had to cancel weddings, anniversaries, et cetera, during that time, is they were trying to stuff it because they thought somehow grieving that took away from the ER doc in New York trying to crush COVID on its 48th hour. There is an inordinate amount of unprocessed grief from 2020 and 2021 because it got shoved under the carpet. And what Kristen Neff tells us is that you can't both be compassionate toward yourself if you've kind of swept it underneath here. You got to bring it into the light. So mindfulness of how am I feeling? What am I grieving right now? What am I sad about? And actually acknowledging it is part of self-compassion. Maya Angelou says, never trust a naked man handing you a shirt. And I love this quote because I get many raised eyebrows and quizzical looks, but all it means is this: we must first clothe ourselves in compassion before we can authentically share it with others. It's a powerful thing to remember. So, self-compassion, say and do nice things for yourself. People have experiences just like yours, you're not alone. And bring it into the light. We are on number 4, habit hacking. Who said they were bored? Yeah. When I start with habit, people are like, what does habit have to do with anything? Why do we need to learn about habit science? Anybody ever made a New Year's resolution? Seriously? That's it? Okay, for those of you that made a New Year's resolution, did it ever happen to not come to fruition? Yeah. Our sparkly goals with stickers all around them and highlighted, those are amazing and they're great and you get to look at them. But if you don't understand the basics of habit science, the likelihood is it will not stick. So we're going to just talk to James Clear for a couple of minutes. James Clear wrote Atomic Habits. Powerful, powerful understanding of habit science and how we can implement that into our lives if you haven't read it. 2 salient points from that book. The first comes from a story he tells about a fellow that came up to him and said, James, I get all this habit stuff, but I want to quit a habit. And James said, what habit do you want to quit? He said, well, I get home and I want to watch one episode just to wind down, and I put my Netflix on. Next thing I know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I've watched 9 episodes. I haven't even eaten dinner. And I've tried to reduce it, and it hasn't worked. And James says, okay, tell me about where you watch these episodes. Said, oh, it's amazing. I've got this like Barcalounger couch thing with cup holders and speakers and this amazing like 90-inch TV. It's incredible. He said, great, I want you to go home and do one thing and call me in 2 weeks and tell me how much the behavior has reduced. Guy goes home, does the thing, calls him in 2 weeks. 75% reduction in his TV watching behavior. Does anybody know what James told him to do? Joy said, get rid of the couch. I'm going to call you Joy. Okay. Said, get rid of the couch. Similar. He had him turn it around. Because if I need to watch TV like this, that's awkward and uncomfortable. Habits that we want to reduce, we want to make the environment awkward and uncomfortable in whatever way we can. Habits that we want to bring into our lives, we want to pay attention to environment and the systems we put in place to support those goals. So one of the best quotes from the book is, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Your goals can be perfectly written and sparkles and stickers and the whole thing, and you look at it every day and you say it into the mirror. But if you haven't paid attention to the systems in which you hope to plant that habit, they will fail. That's number 1. Number 2, a fella came up to James and said, look, James, I'm completely out of shape. I'm in terrible shape, and I want to get stronger. I want to invest in myself. I said, okay, so you want to go to the gym? Yeah, I want to go to the gym, but I'm not really someone who goes to the gym. And he said, okay, I want you to drive to the gym, but don't get out of your car for the first 5 days. For the second 5 days, I want you to drive to the gym, get out of your car, touch the handle, and then go back and get back in your car and leave. For the third set of 5 days, I want you to get out of your car, touch the handle, go in, take a big breath in and a big breath out, and leave. 3 weeks, you are actually somebody who goes to the gym. Tiny, tiny shifts, or what James calls votes, casting for the person you want to become. So instead of all of these goals, which he thinks are very important, and I do as well, I do them all the time, what if when faced with a decision, you just cast a vote for the person you want to become? Now, James Clear is a best-selling author. He's a pretty smart guy. I think I have a better take on this. I told you about from that crappy college apartment shower where I was at my lowest. The next morning, I realized I really did need to turn the Titanic around. I had all sorts of health issues I had no idea how to address. So I decided to go for a walk in a park that was nearby. It was a spring morning. There was mist all over the place. I walked. It was a little quarter-mile loop, walk, walk, walk. And then I sat down on a bench. And then someone sat down next to me. And I look, and I was like, oh, it's an elderly woman. She's about 87, 88. She was in blue running tights and a green running jacket. And she was out of breath. And she had this little rainbow-colored hat with her little gray hair kind of poking out, and her cheeks were all rosy. And she looks at me and says, hello. And I said, well, hello. And she said, how are you? And I could have said fine, but I didn't. I told her how I was, which was I was at wellness rock bottom at 23. And I talked and I talked and I talked, and eventually her hand was on my knee. And she said, honey, you'll figure it out. You always do. And I said to her, do I know you? She said, better than I know myself. I said, have we met before? 1,000 times. You see, I wasn't sitting next to a stranger. I was sitting next to the most vital, vibrant version of myself at 87. This vision happened during a guided meditation shortly after I decided to turn my health around. And I have had conversations with that version of myself so many times and said to her, what do you need from me? What can I be doing now to help you be this? So, instead of just casting a vote for the person you want to become, what if you actually connected with the idea of your most vital, vibrant, energetic, strong, non-marginalized, active, adventurous version of your 90-year-old self? And you had a conversation. Now, some of you might think, well, that's crazy. We have so much data on connecting with your inner child and how that resolves childhood trauma. I truly believe that having a few minutes with your inner elder and saying, what do you need from me? What do you need me to do? Well, how can I be protecting you? How can I invest in you? Can be very powerful. So, James talks about you will not rise to the level of your goals, you will fall to the level of your systems. He also says, cast a vote for the person you want to become when you're faced with a decision, and the good news about that is you are one vote away from moving you along that spectrum toward optimized health as opposed to illness. And finally, connect with your inner elder, or the concept of that, to just start imagining what do you want for yourself at 90. And it's not going to happen overnight, so we can start making small investments now. I'm down with the chat Jeeped and the pilot, and I seriously fed that story into AI, and this is what showed up. I love her. She's had a little problem with her rouge, but I adore her. And so now it makes me giggle every time I see this. Because for years and years and years, I just had the vision in my head, and now I've got this. We are going to do a short activity. I want to implement a habit as a group, a powerful opportunity for us to start a gratitude practice. Does anybody have a gratitude practice? Excellent, I've got a couple. Anybody, is it a daily practice? Excellent, wonderful. We're going to start a daily practice just like our friend over here does. And we are going to link it to something we're already doing. You may have heard of habit stacking or habit linking or habit anchoring. When we connect a new behavior to a behavior that's already in our everyday, it has a much better chance at survival. So we are going to do a gratitude practice, and we're going to do something called a gratitude tap. Now, all of us get out of bed in the morning, and we swing our legs off and plant our feet, unless you have some special levitation ability that I don't know about. We're going to plant our feet, and we're going to do a very simple strategy. We're going to lift our right foot and set it down, and we're going to say, I am grateful for. And we're going to say what we're grateful for. I am grateful for. I am grateful for. Now, if you don't mind planting your feet on the floor, just envision that you are waking up in the morning, you're setting your feet on the bed. Let's take a big breath in together. And all the way out. Right foot up and down. I am grateful for. Please say it out loud. What are you grateful for? Thank you. Okay, and so now that we know how to do it, the second one we're going to do real loud. Okay, here we go. I am grateful for. Last one. I am grateful for. Okay, we are going to do that one more time. So now that we kind of did the dress rehearsal, I want the walls to blow off with gratitude. Okay? So scream it out. It's going to be a cacophony of gratitude. It's going to be amazing. So we're going to lift that right foot up. I am grateful for. I am grateful for. I am grateful for. Woo! Very nice. We started with illness to wellness spectrum, this concept that we have an illness, then we have a long line, and then we have another, we have our wellness, our most optimized, and there's just a big space in between. And micro point number one is that absence of signs or symptoms does not mean we well. We cannot just hang out here. Who can tell me one of the first signs of heart disease? Chest pain? Somebody said no sign. Yeah. Essentially right, because sometimes the very first, actually commonly the first sign of heart disease is a fatal heart attack. No previous signs or symptoms. But was Mr. Heart Attack well? No. So this idea of absence of signs or symptoms really connecting with, I need to invest, make shifts, take steps, regardless of how I'm feeling. It just needs to be a consistent effort. Now, in this middle part where we kind of just hang out, like I don't have anything specific going on, but I'm not investing as much as I could, just remembering we're in a headwind. We are in a state of degenerative change. We have to lean in. But the good news is that tiny, consistent shifts, 1 extra glass of water, 5 deep breaths, 10 minutes earlier to bed. Those are tiny shifts, layered on tiny shifts, will move you in the direction of optimization. Homeostasis teeter-totter is that our life experience depends on the hundreds of daily health amplifying or depleting decisions we make. You are 1 step away from health amplifying, and that's the beauty of it. It's never going to be 100%. Every day we're going to make a choice that maybe not the best, but can we switch the scales? So we are making more health amplifying choices, knowing that those choices we make affect how we perceive our world, how we process it, and how we can respond to it. Self-compassion, 3 pillars. Self-kindness, warmth and understanding toward you. Common suffering, understanding that you are not alone. And mindfulness, making sure we bring it out into the light and acknowledge it and address it and show it some love. Habit hacking. We will not rise to the level of our goals. We will fall to the level of our systems. Number 2 is cast votes for the person you want to become. Not just setting goals and writing them out and making them all amazing and in perfect SMART goal format, but when faced with a decision, just pause for a moment and say, what will move me in the direction of who I want to become? And maybe connect with that inner elder. Powerful conversation to be had. I promised you we were going to do an action. We've just powered through 4 building blocks to help support your wellness strategy. And typically, you know what the action is that you need to take. But I am going to give you a couple of minutes, and I'm going to show you your 4 categories are on top. We did the 2-word check-in, we did the gratitude tap. Those 4 things in the middle, those are activities I do when I do this as a 90-minute talk, and we do activities throughout the whole session, which are really fun. If you're like, ooh, what's Yoga Nidra? Come talk to me. I'll talk you through it, and I can send you resources on any of those 4 activities. But I want you to just take a moment, flip over that card, and write down your action item for me, and I'm going to explain why it's going on that card. But just take a moment and reflect. What is it you need to do to optimize yourself? What is it you need to do to move yourself in a direction toward the person you want to become? writing, I want you to keep writing. We are going to move into, just so we have some share time, we're going to move into something called name and proclaim, the concept that when we say publicly what our action item is, we have a better chance of following through. But we're going to put a little bit of a twist on it, and here's what the twist is. We're going to hold space. And what that means is, if I am sitting in the audience and I am brave enough to stand up and say, here's my action item, and I am vulnerable, someone else in the audience is just going to put their hand up, which means I'm going to hold space for Heather. I'm not going to stalk her on social media and say, are you doing it? Are you getting your action done? No, I'm just going to energetically think positively for her, and I'm going to hold that. So we are going to just take a moment to share. And again, I will pick on people if you don't raise your hand. And when that person is brave enough to stand up and share what their action item is, please think about if it resonates with you and you want to hold space for that person, just put your hand up and I will call on you. Okay, who would be willing to share their action item? Right at the back.
I'm sorry, if I could have you speak into the mic.
Hi, my name's Tracy, and I put an action item to get up in the morning and stretch, do some stretching. That's what
Excellent.
I'd like to do more.
It's Tracy. Who'll hold space for Tracy, please? Here, Therese. Next person that wouldn't mind sharing an action item. Yes.
My action item is to set small goals to be the person I want to become.
Amazing. What's your name?
Erin.
Erin. Set small goals so that she can be the person she wants to become. Who will hold space for Erin? Thank you. What's your name? Kristen. Okay, great. Yes.
I'm also Erin. My action item is to stop talking myself out of things being my goals.
Excellent. So to stop kind of talking yourself out of things and to
I
take
have
steps
really good
forward.
ideas, and then I say, no, you're not going to do it because for whatever.
Yeah. So some self-compassion, some
Yeah.
motivation steps forward. God, awesome. Who will hold space for Erin? Excellent. Right here. What's your name? Alicia will hold space for you. Somebody, couple more, please. Yes.
I'm getting it. My steps in.
Mine's self-compassion. I'll work harder to quiet that inner voice.
Wonderful. Self-compassion. What was your name?
Kristen.
Kristen. Kristen, that's right. Who will hold space for Kristen? Yes, thank you. Great. Okay, couple more on this side, please. Quiet side. Ooh, too close to the speaker.
Hi, I'm Jessie.
Jessie.
Mine was early morning meditation practice.
Love it. Who will hold space for Jessie? Right here. Bridget. Bridget's holding space for you. One more, please. Yeah. Oh, how about right here? Joy and love. It's okay. You take your time. This is safe space for you.
I'm going to take the first step in getting more play into my life
Amazing.
and less responsibility, more play.
What is your name, actually?
Pat.
Pat.
Joy is good, though.
Yeah. Pat is going to take more joy and play into her life. I feel like a word of the year in there somewhere, joy or play, one of those two. Thank you, Pat. Who'll hold space? What's your name? Lindsay's going to hold space. Let's do one more. This is so fun. There's one way back there.
Hi, I'm Marky. I kind of did a couple. Mine was, my action is to have more family time and to watch less TV and get back into doing yoga.
Awesome. Who will hold space for Marky? Thank you. What was your name? Davy. Davy's going to hold space for you. Now, I hold space. I am good at it. I'm not going to lie. I've had lots of practice. So the reason I have you do it on those cards is because I take all of those cards and I pour a nice cup of tea and I read them and I think positive thoughts for you. So please hand those in to me at the end of our session together. I've done this for groups of 200, 500. I will have no problem holding space for each of you, and regardless of what your action item is, I will be sending you lots of positive energy on that. Now, before we end, we got to go back to Maggie. She came into my office Thursday morning after that call from her daughter where she realized, what am I doing? So we worked on some things with her. We started with consistent shifts over time, okay? Maggie was a high performer, used to big moves. We had to slow her roll and say, nope, wellness is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Slow, steady steps. We talked about internalizing every choice matters and reminding her that you have a bad morning or whatever, you are one choice away from moving yourself in the right direction. And that all of those choices inspire how we respond and process what's happening in the environment. We began with self-compassion. She comes from a long line of perfectionists. And as we know, all perfectionists are some of the most horrific self-compassionate people. They're so hard on themselves, so we had to work on that first. And then finally, we matched the power of habit hacking. We talked about how she needed to have some systems and change some environments to help her get to the gym, to help her swim on Wednesday mornings, to help her meal prep on Sundays. And we also talked about voting for the person you want to become, but actually just having her think about, who do you want to be to Lucy's grandkids or to Lucy's children? Who do you and Jer want to be in your late 80s? And so we talked a lot about that. So my hope is that in bridging the connection between your personal well-being and your professional success, you have one takeaway today. It's all I ask. That you have one action item that you can implement and move yourself forward because you have a huge impact to leave. And you are going to leave a legacy, each and every one of you, and I'm very excited about that. I want to thank you. If you have any questions or you'd like to connect with me, please, please, please take advantage of this QR code. It's not an email thing or anything. It's just to book some time with me if you want. I'm on LinkedIn all the time. If you have a question or a follow-up or anything at all, please message me there. And I do love doing this, and it's all I do anymore. So if you have an opportunity for a speaker in well-being strategy, I'm your girl. So thank you so much. Appreciate you.